Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
We're together
Oh my God. For like the first time
in a long time.
in a long time.
Yeah. We're in Colorado. Here from Colorado is Lisa and Erica for the Flow Getter Show. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm
So exciting.
So, what do you want to talk about today, Erica?
Well, I remember, so we were chatting last night and we were talking about, what were we talking about?
Well, okay. We were on a walk and we were talking about the ego, and we're jumping right in. Okay. The ego self and the higher self, and trying not to split the spirituality
Yes.
from the physical realm. And you had so many thoughts that we were like, don't speak, so we can save it for the podcast. So,
okay.
So I want to ask you about your perspective, and maybe I'll start us off, like back up a sec so you can answer, we can give people context. Hi, people. So excited. Okay. Okay. So sometimes people are not conscious enough, and other times they're totally unconscious. So what we're trying to talk about here is like how to fix that, essentially.
Yes.
Because if you're really conscious, things go pretty well. When you go totally unconscious, like a work day, and you're just like, ugh, then things maybe don't go so well for your day, or you don't feel as good. So what do you think?
So, okay. Yeah. So
Can we talk to them or us?
I know. I can see you here, which is it's kind of nice to be able to look this way.
Okay.
Because I can see you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is great.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I kind of looked at our three-dimensional world as being separate from the non-physical, and it was just, it's kind of what I learned. It was what I was taught. So I would, whenever things would feel heavy or whatever, I would just kind of look outside of myself into the non-physical, what I thought was, like out there. And I, kind of try to, bring that closer to me. But over in the last maybe year or so, I've started to think about things differently. Well, let me backtrack. I've believed for a few years, for a little while, that the physical is merely and I do say merely on purpose.
Okay.
It's merely the physical interpretation of the non-physical. So they're the same thing.
Okay.
There's really no difference. So when you literally look at anything in the physical world, or feel anything in the physical world, like smells or touch things, see things, like, whatever it is, it means something that is also at the same time, like, happening as a non-physical. And I think because our brains as human beings were wired to think linearly and separately, and in the physical world, we feel separate, but really it's just an illusion.
Yeah.
Like, we're not actually separate. If you just focus on the energy, if you get rid of any sort of preconceived idea of what is and what isn't, and you just feel energy. Okay. You can feel so much more than you can see or touch or taste or smell or whatever. You feel, so for me, there is no separation. And so because of that, so that's kind of where I started, right?
Okay.
So then I was like, wait a second, if there's no separation, and also because time doesn't exist.
Oh,
like it does and it doesn't. And because, I'm trying to get away from like my human linear thinking, and just sort of open myself up and my mind up to the possibility of all. Then I'm like, wait a second. Not only am I not separate from the non-physical, I am the non-physical. The non-physical it's all, everything, literally everything is here. Like, when I think of the universe, like I think everyone that I know and everything that I've heard, most of us think of the universe as this massive, expansive thing that's outside of us, and that's like we're in it, but versus the reverse, which is actually where, like, we are this massive, expansive universe, and everything is in here.
Love it.
And so, and so so we aren't separate from not only are we not separate from the non-physical, but we are the non-physical. We have access to the non-physical, and we don't even have to think of it in those terms. So not only, and so when I think of it like that, I'm like, I want to be more in my body because I want more access to that.
Okay. So you're saying the path to the totality of allness is through your body.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily through your body, but through being present in your body.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes. So it's not just because that's a great, and you said it yesterday. It was so great. There's a difference, sort of like we can call it many things. We can call it the matrix versus the, sort of the spiritual.
I was saying like higher self, ego,
matrix.
Ego matrix.
Yeah.
Out of the vortex.
Unconscious. There are many ways you can.
Fugue state.
Yes.
Where we're just like you're just not you, and you're just kind of autopilot.
Yes.
And you're not your full self, and you don't really, like, you're just not really there.
Like your body's there, but your mind is elsewhere, kind of.
Yeah. Thing. Or it's too, like, all there is this third dimensional existence. Does that make sense? Yeah. Versus the awareness of more.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a problem because, well, let's just say in our experience, it feels like it's a problem because the totality of everything you are is not with you. You're just this little fraction of yourself, and you're usually scared, and you're making decisions out of fear. Sorry, I'm looking at you. Look at you. Okay. A person is making decisions based on fear, usually in that state.
When we're aware, then you're able to feel more. And when you're able to feel more, you're able to access more. And when you're able to access more, you're able to understand better. And so when you understand better, you realize that there is no separation. It's all your awareness, and you allow it's like you're opening your mind up to all that is.
Yeah. And
when you realize that all that is right here, I'm just getting goosebumps.
I know.
It's an amazingly powerful and empowering and beautiful and awesome thing that you're like, oh my God, I can do anything. I really am a super being. Like,
or the being.
Yeah.
The being of us all.
And
source.
Exactly. Yeah. Source. Yeah. Like and it's not, and here's the thing. I think sometimes we get tripped up on this whole idea of, oh, that's so egoic to say, like, I'm not God. Like, how can you say you're God?
Or like super offensive to some people.
Yeah. Because and I think I grew up Catholic.
Recovering Catholic.
Yeah. And so, and so, for me, I learned that God is this big, massive, omnipresent, powerful thing that's outside of me. That's like, I am just this little, thing that's like not super important, even though I know God loves me, but like, I must obey these things. And, and it just sort of creates this idea that
you're less than.
I'm less than. Yeah. And
I'm not less than.
None of us are. We're all equally powerful. We like together and individually. That's the thing. It's an and thing. It's like physical and non-physical, physical and non-physical, together and individually. Like it's not, there is no real separation.
I love this so much. And you're bringing up slightly a concept where people we typically are A or B, and the concept of both things existing, the and concept of both things existing at the same time is so hard for, I think, the normal brain to wrap itself around. Like, how can I be all that is and the creation of everything that exists and little of me? Like, how is that possible? And I think the trick is just say yes to that concept if it resonates with you, because sometimes the brain isn't going to quite get that because we weren't conditioned to think like that. But over time, I think just being in that space allows you to see that it's both. Like, you'll get evidence of both.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, you're you, and you're also the greatness of the universe.
Yes.
At the same time. Yeah.
That's right. And I mean, if you think about, that's exactly it. It's like, I think we're seeing more and more as we open our minds up to this idea. I think in the physical world, we're seeing more and more diversity. Well, there's two things that are happening. There are more options, meaning, and that's on purpose.
Yes.
It's because we're trying to wrap our minds around this and thing. Like, how can you be super like politically liberal and be married to a super politically conservative person? Like, how, that's a couple that's got a super open mind. That's like, yeah. Cause I think for, some like, or pick a topic, really any topic. How can you be,
atheist and totally spiritual?
Right. Exactly. How can you be, I don't even know. How can you be a man and a woman? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Fabulous people out there who are both.
Right.
Or neither.
Yeah. Exactly. Or all. Like, and it's not just man or woman. Not only is it man and woman, it's also and whatever the hell you want to be.
Yes.
Like we, our world is changing. We're learning to open up our minds to the idea that you don't box yourself in. It is an and world that we live in. It's an and universe. Yes. And so, I can be gray and a brunette. Guess what? Do I have to choose?
You don't have to choose.
Do I have to check on the thing? Like, what color is your hair? Like, I have one, I don't, but like blue eye and brown. Like, what do people do when they have to check? Do you have brown eyes or blue eyes on your driver's license? Well, I have both.
David know I do. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, don't make me choose. Don't put me in a box. Yeah. And so it's kind of like open our minds and understand that everything is and going back to where we started, like I am, not only do I no longer want to like get out of my body and like have an out of body experience, and get with the non-physicals. I want to be so in my body that I can feel everything and see everything and be everything and embrace like this is the tool that I have right now to experience all.
Oh my God. Say that again. That was so good.
I want to be so in my body that I can feel everything and see everything and be everything and embrace like this is the tool that I have right now to experience all.
It's so good because your body is an antenna for the broadcast of the universe. So all the information of your soul and your consciousness and life itself and everything in this dimension and other dimensions and interdimensions and all the things, it's all, this thing is the tool to access that. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. Yeah. Okay. Think of it too. Like think about the things that we know if we've ever exercised and moved our body, moving your body kind of naturally forces you to be in your body. Like you have to be more in your body. I think that's why we love it so much. And that's why we get the high is because, the more we move, the more in our body we are, the more we can, you're more present. You're more present. It kicks up your heart rate. It kicks up your breathing. Like all the things that they go into extra motion mode. And that we're being in our bodies more. That's why exercise feels so good.
Yeah.
That like, it's not about getting out of your body and like, I don't want to be in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just want to get, and for those of us who like struggle with, I mean, this might be a big leap to think like we
were there. We were in the, like, just all, be not here. This doesn't matter. It's all illusion. Who cares? And I think we've come to realize that it's like, no, you're here on purpose. You're in a physical body on purpose. So if you're struggling with pulling yourself back in, what was your advice? Because I know you're just about to.
Yeah, it's like it's. I was going to say like of course you start where you are,
right? And
so we're all starting from different points, and like there are some of us who are like really struggling being in our body because we're not happy with our bodies. We're and that's where you're starting, and so be patient and have kindness for yourself and understand that you are the most important person. You are. It's you that you need to take care of. And I think, I know, I've definitely, I still struggle with it where I'm like so outward focused on taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I neglect myself. And again, going back to this idea of the and, you don't have to choose. You can do all of it. You really can without taxing yourself to the point of like, but it's not, you have to get there. Like allow yourself time to figure it out, because you'll get there the way you need to get there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's a I don't love myself thing. Maybe it's a I don't trust situation where I need to take care of it. You can't do it because I know, whatever.
Right.
Maybe
too much. You're trying to control things and you really don't need to, or like you said, you don't want to be here because you got judgments about something.
Yeah.
So you have to work through those specific things to kind of let yourself have more access to yourself. But you do have to get through your control issue or your I hate myself issue or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Keep going.
Oh, I was going to ask you
clarifying. Well, no, because I'm just like, okay, so I'm getting it, right? Like, it's like, I get it, but then like, we all get this, right? Like, we all know what we're talking about, but there's layers of getting it. Like, how many Eckhart Tolle things have I listened to? Like billions, and Abraham and whoever, Joe, but all the people. But there's when you can really get it and sort of incorporate it into your beingness. Yes. And so I think we're in now this and blending the consciousness with the daily experience.
Yeah.
So we're not going unconscious as much. We're still going unconscious because we're people, but it's way less. And then you see it more and more. And you're like, wow, I'm way more conscious more of my day than I was 5 years ago, where it was like 5 minutes of consciousness and the rest was like, so now we're like finding our way to there. So we're just trying to share that with you. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this, I was going to say kind of the concept of the when you really start to look at it in your life, in your own personal life, where let's say, I admittedly was a super judgmental human being. And I'm not saying I've gotten rid of all of it. Like I'm human and I'm
so much better.
But I feel so much better than I used to. And, in terms of like the thoughts that I would have, like just constantly judging myself, judging the outside world, judging, whatever that came and it wasn't like, it just came.
Yeah.
It was just like, but that's because well, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons I think is because I was looking at the world as sort of, when you grow up and you're taught to think critically, when you're taught to have an opinion, mm-hmm. when you're taught, and not only you're taught, but that's celebrated. Yeah. It's celebrated when you can make an argument, debate team, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's celebrated to have an opinion and then stand by your opinion and then tell the other side why their opinion's wrong. Right. It's like, we're taught these things.
And we're taught, I got to interject. Yes. We're taught that everything's other.
Yes.
Various races, various gender, various everything's is an otherness. I'm like, so you're conditioned that everything's separate from you from the second you are born. So trying to not be in a judgmental state, you're like, well, that's different. You're different to me. Instead of you are me, mm-hmm. you're a different version of the me. But mm-hmm. yeah, sorry,
absolutely. No, I love this. This mm-hmm. is great. This is exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not only is it, and it's, you are me, like everything around me is a reflection of me.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And so when you look at, that's like taking it, like, that's like taking the and thing further. Not only is it and, it is me.
Yeah. And if it was you wouldn't treat it poorly.
Right.
Or reject it. You would try to understand it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Or help it or support it or go like, isn't there a tribe? Okay, I saw this on the internet. I don't know if it's true. There's a tribe in Africa or something. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. Where if the person's behaving badly, like in a criminal way, mm-hmm. they put this person in the center of this thing, and everyone comes around them and loves them until they cannot stand it anymore. Oh my God, I know, it's like I'm gonna cry. I know, but they're not treating this person as other. They're amazing. Like, no, we're gonna fix you. I'm like getting verklempt. And so to me, that's a whole, like, what if you did that with everything? Like, the super annoying kid that everyone wants to pick on. It's like, what's really going on is there's dysfunction at home that's causing the kid to do that. And that's like mean, we've all wanted to like pick on the kid, right? You're like, why are you so this way or something? But it's like, what we really should do is just hyper love things.
Yes.
And just be like, oh, it's hard to be you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're confused or you're struggling at home and whatever. And like, that would shift stuff, but we don't do that. We're just like, you are other, go away from us. Kind of tying back to your everything. It's like, hold your self closer, like be in your body more presently, be in yourself more. And then when the dragons come up, and they will, then it's like you try to remember, like, oh yeah, that's right. As much as I want to just turn away from this part of myself, and and a lot of people have been super traumatized too, right? So they've got even more than I can imagine. It's easier said than done, but I think that is truly the path, is include, because here's why. The universe is one big yes. So if you're saying no in a universe of, and what I mean by one big yes is that there's no exclusion, it's all attraction, it's all yes. So whatever, if you're trying to push something away, you're really going against the nature of an entire universe, right? And so if you're pushing yourself away, you're literally going against the nature of the universe. I mean, we're not even talking about manifesting. It's just like, no, you're supposed to include yourself and include your pain and figure out what's going on there. But it's painful. So of course you don't want to do it, but that's how this oneness, I think, happens, is trying to integrate yourself as much as you can each day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of like if we could rewire our minds, or kind of shift our beliefs into believing that actually being open and honest and real and cleansing and all the things that we kind of as a society consider taboo, like we're supposed to stuff our feelings. We're not supposed to, behave certain ways out in public. Yeah. We're not, trauma, like sweep it under the rug, don't talk about your stuff in certain company, or, but like if we embrace this idea of healing and didn't worry about what the outside world may or may not think, that doesn't matter. Because if we didn't worry, then we wouldn't get that mirror of
people going.
Yes. When we worry about it is when we get that feedback, because it's a reflection.
Yeah. And it's also important, I think, to read the room, because sometimes people want support from places that don't give them support so they can beat themselves up more.
Yes. Yes.
Like they'll purposefully try to get something that you're like, that's not your avenue. And so see, nobody loves me. See, people are horrible. See, because they want to reaffirm that. So that's another aspect, is like, don't use anything in your life against yourself. Like if you make a bad choice, you're like, oh, okay. Instead of like, see, no one loves me. See, like that. I've heard that. I've seen that too many times.
That's like the victim mentality. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also like not being honest with yourself. Yeah. I mean, you got to start from a place of, if you really want to heal, then do it from a place of honesty. If you don't, then you understand that you're doing things for attention or for what, that's like, yeah.
As an example, just so we're not like, I hope we don't sound like we're preaching, because we're not, but like, as an example, like if I'm doing something during the day, I'll go really unconscious and like avoid the thing, like the priority that I really want to do. And if I would get more in myself, I would be more conscious of why I feel compelled to ignore myself and attend to something that I really don't need to attend to or distract. So I have the same thing where I'm like, okay, I'm really good and I've got this down, let's say 50% of the day, but the other 50%, I'm still like, I just distracted myself right out of that thing I really wanted to do that was super important for me. And instead I'm doing this other thing. So from this conversation, what I'm learning, and I think a good practice that I'm trying to do, is try and take time to be conscious with each segment, so that you're not just whizzing around, because it's so easy to go unconscious because the world is so distracting. So what I'm doing is trying to be more all that, like the more blendedness, so I can each day feel like, wow, today I just felt more here. And then more flow comes from that always, 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 always. Mm-hmm. So we want to hear also too, like, you know, how are you guys doing with this stuff? Because it's a whole different paradigm, I think, to like completely give yourself the blend of like as you were speaking, which was so brilliant. Like there's no separation. It's all you are your higher self and your real self at the same time. And I'm like, how am I living that today? Because I'm not thinking of it in those terms. I'm like, oh, you're in your ego. And I'm like, but then I'm separating.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is, no, you are that.
Well, you actually gave the perfect example. Like if you're, let's say your ego is the African criminal and that everyone's around it is your higher self. Right. Are you gonna like, instead of slapping, you know, the ego, love the ego.
Right.
It's like, it's kind of like when we're hard on ourselves, like I think, so this saying keeps coming to mind, which is, don't get stuck on the problem, get stuck on the solution.
Yes.
So basically what I'm saying is like, when we get stuck in, oh, this is a problem, we've defined this thing as a problem. What if it's not a problem?
See, this like, is what I love about you.
Like, okay. I'm like if, you know, if we're chastising ourselves because we went through the whole day, because we, didn't do what we wanted to do or whatever. And and then we start to analyze that and get stuck in like the idea that, oh, it was my ego. We're like focusing on the problem. We're getting really stuck there.
So brilliant.
So instead, how about we don't chastise ourselves and we love ourselves and say, oh my gosh, I know that was all for a reason. I'm learning things. I love you. And now in this moment, I'm going to make a different choice. Now in this moment, I'm going to focus on the solution. I'm not going to, so I say that with a tiny grain of salt. And the reason I say it is because there are, like when we talk about the deep trauma stuff or there are moments and times where focusing on why we got to where we are, but I don't really look at that as focusing on the problem. Because when you're focused on the problem, you're focused on the pain part. Mm-hmm. What you really want to do is go back to the trauma and almost relive it, almost rewrite your history, where you're going back to the trauma and you're like, ooh, that sucked really bad. It hurt so bad. And I can see that it was all for me. And now you're shining some love on it. You're not focused on the problem in a problematic way. You're focused on it in a solution-oriented way where you're addressing it. You're not ignoring it.
You're feeling
it. You're allowing yourself to release all of that pain by focusing on it. And you're actually shifting the way that you look at it in a way that is loving. And now, if you do that enough, and at some point, you're able to go back to that time and you don't see it the same way that you did. You don't see it with all this pain. You see it with love and kindness and tenderness and compassion. And you just are able to you're released out into the world. And now you're in the and world. Wow, you had this trauma that happened.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not making light of it.
No, her mom died at a young age.
Like we all have trauma. All of us have trauma.
All of us have trauma.
Like we're not human if we don't have trauma.
Right.
So we come here, we have trauma and we learn, and then we go back and we're like, whoa, I wouldn't change a thing that happened.
Right.
I would not change because I wouldn't be this. If that didn't happen, I'd be something else, which is also beautiful. But like, I kind of like myself.
Yeah.
So well, thank you. And I know that we're not all there, and I'm still working on things. We all are.
We are. Yeah.
But the point is, like, it's not. You don't have to get stuck in the problem. Get stuck in the solution.
I love this so much because I want to break that down a little bit. Because what I heard is that, like, I love all the things you said about like you're focusing on it and you're loving it. And like you said, that the person in the circle and everyone coming to love it versus I was traumatized. It hurts. And I'm going to like do everything to avoid my trauma, which is twisting me. And then I'm also wearing like a victim badge. And then like that's focusing on the problem. Mm-hmm. Whereas the solution is like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. And I don't even want to think about it, but I'm going to think about it. And like you're leaning into it.
Yeah.
That thing versus, and it's like really, I think, important to delineate between like when I'm focusing on a problem, I'm making it a problem.
Yes. When you're feeding the problem with more problem,
Yeah.
But don't
you're making
feed
it
it.
more
Love
complicated.
it.
I don't even want to deal with that. And so everything you do is to avoid, because avoidance is like a big thing. Like some people like, I'm wearing it as a badge and like everything I'm going to be like, one example would be someone who's just a jerk all the time. Well, I was hurt and this is how I have to defend myself, is to be a jerk to everybody. You're making that everyone else's problem. And then you're rationalizing being a jerk, right? Instead of like, wow, I'm a real asshole and I want to figure out why I'm in so much pain. And you kind of zoom in on that a little bit. You're focused on the issue, but you're like loving it into transformation.
Yeah.
Whereas before you're just like, it's your excuse.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't tell you. I cannot, I'm avoiding why I've turned into a butt face.
Right. Well,
right?
it's exactly. It was kind of like you're neglecting the baby. And we all know that that's not a good thing. Like baby is, yeah, like, like you want to shed love on it. You want to help it. Like your trauma, your problem, your whatever it is, everything, it's all this thing that needs to evolve. Everything that you know, and that's what humans do. We grow and we change and we evolve. You can't stop that. But if you neglect the baby, it's still going to grow. It's just not going to grow the way you want it to because you didn't shine that love on it. It's going to get ugly. Ugh. So like that's the same thing as the trauma problem. Like you ignore it, it's still going to move. Life does not stop moving. It's just going to get worse. So you are doing yourself a disservice by sweeping it under the rug. It's just going to get worse, I promise. And you all know what I'm talking about because we all ignored certain things that it keeps showing up in different ways in our lives. And then it gets worse and worse and worse because as we become more aware, it's kind of like there's something in the back of our mind that knows we gotta do something different, and the different thing is to love, like just think of everything that I think of in the non-physical world. There's a correlation to the physical world because again, physical world is non-physical. It's all the same thing. Yeah. And so the physical world is, if you want to think of like a equivalent, it is the baby. Think of a baby is the thing that I can think of that needs nurturing more than anything else on the planet. It's a new, fresh human or animal or whatever, something that's new and needs nurturing, can't do it by itself. Yeah. That's what your problem is. Think of it like that. You're not going to neglect that. You're going to love it and you're going to feed it and you're going to give more attention to it. And you're going to shed in a good way. Yeah. You're not going to look at it as like it's going to be ugly and scary. And like babies can be ugly and scary too, but
they can be tough for those newborns out there.
No, I'm just kidding. But like, like a newborn baby, it's like, oh yeah, it's cute. Isn't it cute? It's like really
keep
weird.
It away. They're funky. Kind of funky.
But like we love them. We love them more than we give our lives for these things.
Yeah. Okay. So many truth bombs. I cannot wait to get all the quotes out of this episode, first of all. And I love this new way of so here's an example. You wake up on Monday morning, you're like, this week's going to be different. And then you begin the things that maybe you don't enjoy so much or you feel more obligated to do instead of the things you want to do. Well, that program switches on right then. And then you have to just take a second and go, okay, what did I learn from Erica? Love the baby. Okay. So the baby is I've either made choices in my life that out of fear and I don't like that I'm choosing this, or I just have a bad attitude and I could change it. But it's like you fix it right then. You don't go, but I got to send this email out or I got to, like, you really don't. You have 30 freaking seconds to
feed the baby,
to feed your own self and your baby. And like, okay, really, I could change my perspective on this. I could feel grateful or appreciative, or I could say, you know what? Hell no, I am done with this, whatever this is. And I'm going to make some steps and changes and it's going to happen. And I'm, like you can use that time or just use that time to just be and say, all right, I accept all. And this sucks. I'm not going to even do anything about it because I just aren't. And I'm going to just be okay. Like you have choices, but I think the mistake is skipping over that moment. Going from conscious to now I'm unconscious, or like I'm seeing everything as one, and now everything's separate in otherness, and this sucks and that's bad, and these are good and I suck, and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a transition moment right there. And if you can remember her face and what she said, and then bring it into that moment, and then find yourself being 0.4% more aware of those transition times, in a week, you'll be 1% more aware. And as you can tell, I was going to just go with that analogy, but your percentage of awareness with those, because you're going to have your unconscious times, like you're human, right? But if you can take each of those and go like, oh, I'm entering into one of these. Okay. And it's just a little softer and it's a little easier. And you're a little more conscious as you're sending work emails and going, this, yeah, whatever. Like, but you go, okay, he's not anything done. You're just really unhappy with this situation. Okay. I'm going to do something about that. I can't do about it now. Maybe things are working out. Okay. Like just recenter yourself in your awareness that you are the universe. And tell me more about, I'm like, I have to ask you this. Okay. Because we were talking about this, like where we think it's kind of sounds really icky to say, well, I'm not even going to use the G word, but like you are source energy. Like there's no separation.
Yeah.
From you are one with it and it is you. It is not outside of you. It is in you. Mm-hmm. It's not egoic to say that. It's science is the first thing. Because if you break, like for those of you, I'll tell you more about science. Okay. So if you break every physical thing down, everything goes down to the quantum level and dark matter. Everything is made out of this quantum level and dark matter. So there is technically only oneness at the scientific quantum level. There's your science. Okay, that's fun. And it took 15 seconds to tell you that. Okay. Yeah, okay, great. So we don't have to go super science, but I'm like, just go, if you don't believe me, go find science. It'll tell you more. So we have that to work with. Because let's say maybe from a faith and belief standpoint, you can't get your head around, like, go with science. And the quantum level, it's all woven. There's no like, then there's this wall between you. Like there's a wall of any kind in the scientific realm of anything. So we have that to go with. And then you have what I say, like, if there's only one thing that creates all things, then you can't be separate from the one thing. Right?
Right. It's
like kind of the thing can't be the separation exists in the fourth dimension space-time. For fun, apparently, is why we came here. But right?
Yeah. This is great because again, the and thing, right?
Yeah.
We are separate and we are not.
Right.
But like we had the sensation of separation and we really aren't separate. And if you think about it on a sort of a microcosmic level, if you, again, I'm going to go back to this idea that everything in the physical world, there's a translation of everything non-physical into physicals, which to me, I always look at our bodies, right? This is what we know. This is what we have. This is what never leaves us while we're here in this life. And think about all the individual infinite pieces that make this up, like countless cells, countless organs, like all the things that are working in tandem.
Microbiota.
I mean, it's like, I don't even know if there's a person on earth that could literally name all of the things that nobody knows. And you can't count them. You can't quantify them. How do you even do that? How do you start to like quantify the
what?
Because by the time you're done, all have changed. The being, the matter that makes me up right now will have changed by the time you're done. So you have to start over and count. So my point is, go ahead, Steph. No, but my point is like, if you just think about speaking of science, just look at your body and how it works. Like, there's a lot of information out there on like how it works, but not everything's there yet.
No.
Because science is really just the interpretation of the non-physical. It's a physical interpretation of the non-physical. That's what science is.
Yeah.
And we've only reached this much in terms of our human knowledge of science, where the truth is there's an infinite amount to know because there's an infinite amount of information out there and there's an infinite amount of existence and things. And so there's no reason to try it. Like anyway, just trust.
No, what she said. Well, because we know infinity. Like I watched a documentary on infinity.
Yeah.
It's kind of it freaks you out. You're like, there's literally no end to number.
No,
like there can't. So I'm like, well, if math and everything's math, like you can math anything, then everything's infinite. It's just,
well, yeah. And like no human being on earth can tell us that they've reached the end of what exists.
Yeah.
If you know, like we can't even reach the end of the internet.
No one knows everything.
We can't even reach the end of the internet. So like, how can we reach the end of what exists? We can't.
Exactly.
So because it doesn't exist. That's the only thing that doesn't exist is that
an end.
So, or it does. It exists and it doesn't exist because we live in an and world.
Yes.
So what we're trying to say here is like, what are we trying to say?
We are trying to say, okay, we're trying to say, take a minute to think about the infinite nature and allness that you are. And while that may blow some of your minds, I bet a lot of our audience is like, yeah, I got that concept. If you kind of steep in that a little bit more, you have a easier time.
You do. And okay. And also on like a daily level, what's really opened my mind up, because like I said, I was hyper judgmental. And when I opened my mind up to the and idea, I'm like, oh my God, I can be a certain way or have certain thoughts or opinions or feelings about things and know that somebody who's so different from where I feel like I am can have very different thoughts and feelings and beliefs and behaviors, and know that that person is equally beautiful. It's not like, oh, I am this way, so I am better. No, there's no hierarchy. That's crap. The world is not flat. It is round.
Yeah.
Ergo, there's no there's no this. It's not linear. And the universe is not linear. It's incredible when you think of the and, because when you think of the and, your entire world opens up.
Oh my God. I have so many things to say about this. Manifesting. All of you who are like, how to manifest. I bet you, because I've done it and we did it, right? Is I want to manifest and those things are less than me and these things are greater than me. How do you think that's going to go for you? Like if you cannot see all of it is you and all of it is equal on some level, like there's difference and different frequencies of things. That's certain, like, things vibrate at different ways to take different shape, but you're not the manifesting that you probably want. I want freedom. I want money. I want fun. I want this, that. I want to look better. I want all these things. That doesn't come from a limitational mindset. So you're sitting there like, I can manifest anything I want. And then you're like, that's horrible. I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so you're running a limitational, hierarchical, boxed in, limited, rigid mind program. And you're like, I'm totally open, all possibilities. But do you think those things go together? Your energy signature is going to send out both of those signals. So what are you going to get back? Equal parts. If you're looking for your life to totally open up, you have to open up. You have to and. You can't be like, I want my life to be this, and then I suck because I'm not as good as this. Or like, this is where you have to just work on those judgments of yourself and others less than. Like, you can certainly have preferences. You can certainly say, this behavior is not acceptable. These policies are not acceptable. These way we're treating. You can absolutely have preferences and take actions if you feel motivated to do so. But your mind can't be in a place of otherness. It has to be like, those people are struggling. They're not understanding what love is, and that's why they are treating these people poorly. That's the part of me that doesn't understand what love is, and I'm treating myself poorly. Right? So you take care of your shit.
Yes.
Then you also look through the eyes of the same, like, they're an extended version of how I'm treating myself. Because the person that's like going to go out, I mean, there are certainly things in this world that need some adjustment, and I love the people that go out and adjust those things. Thank you very much. On behalf of me, thank you very much. And are you spending the same amount of time not making yourself wrong for things you're doing? Are you spending enough time not making yourself better than other people, right? Like you're maybe kinder than other people, but the people that are treating people really poorly are in so much pain that they're blinded with pain that they're doing horrible, horrible things. That's the part of you that's blinded by your own self-judgment. And like, there's a way, I think, to merge these two. I mean, like I will confess, we don't know all the things in the universe, but we like here in Flow Getter to discuss perspectives to help ourselves grow. And by us discussing it, we get all geeked out, and then we're like, and then we're like, I'm going to share with you guys. Yes, because we feel like it'll be fun. And so that's some deep thoughts I have. So manifesting is okay. In summary, manifesting what you want, and you came to create. You came to create the way, because you are the creator. So you're creating. If you're going to create really well, you want to let go of that feeling of separation in the ways you think and behave and speak.
Beautiful.
Drop this mic.
Fiend. And we're out.
Fiend.
Yeah. Yes. No, I think that's a great like way to kind of, because here's the thing. What I love about what we are all doing together collectively is like, we're basically here to have fun, talk, discuss, philosophize, kind of explore. And I love the action items. Because for me, it's like, okay, now I understand this thing. How can I make this work in my life? And so what you just said in terms of manifesting, like we naturally, we manifest all the time. We meaning us, you.
Yeah,
you can't not manifest. Like you just do. How do you want to create?
Yeah. So, and you shift your energy by like, with all the concepts that you introduced in the first 3/4 of this, I'm like, okay, how can I be more blended? Stop having myself and God, I'm like, or source or whatever. I'm like, okay, you're still Lisa,
yeah,
but you also are this.
Yeah.
And you're connected to a network of information and beings that you can't even fathom. How does your day look when you start with that thought?
Yes.
And you hold it just a little longer before your phone blows up and your work email goes off or whatever. I'm like, just hold it a little longer. And then, for me, we talk or podcast to keep reminding myself so I can bring that into my day, because how's my day going to look if I can bring that perspective into what I'm doing versus my conditioned older perspectives that, okay, they're fine. They're still working for me, but I feel like I could get things to work better. So I thank you for bringing such a huge topic up and helping us maybe stop doing that. Oh, you're in the matrix. No, you're not in the matrix. I'm like, you are one thing.
Yeah.
There's not, because it's like I'm speaking as if there's two things.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a huge win for me, because I'm like, I got this figured out. You're in your ego self. You should go to your higher self. Okay. Or you're just you access yourself more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. It's a totally different paradigm shift. So thank you for that. So good. Okay, wave at the camera. Yeah, no. Like me. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? Do you have any final parting thoughts, or?
I don't.
Okay.
I feel pretty good and satisfied. Thank you for joining. Thank you for hearing. That we always love hearing from you guys. This is how we build community.
And then we just love you guys.
We love you.
Yeah. We're kind of tired because we were up really late. So
that's what happens when we get together.
Yeah, we get together and we do things.
We have like a party with the physicals and non-physicals.
It's so good. So we thank you for being here. It was so good. Thank you for sharing your total deep wisdom, Dr. Tafoya. It was so good. So okay, please subscribe. Please like if you want to subscribe or you want to like. And leave your comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys.